Blizzard North's legendary developers, the prodigal sons of action RPG genre, are back. Phil Shenk, Peter Hugh, and Erich Schaefer, the architects of Diablo and Diablo 2, have reunited under a new indie banner, Moonbeast Productions. For the past 2 years, they've been quietly building a bold, untitled RPG from the ground up. It's a project fueled by decades of genre-defining experience, a vision for innovative gameplay, and groundbreaking approach to modding and collaboration. And now, after years of anticipation, we finally have something real, their first pre-alpha showcase. Let's dive into how far they've come. Now, before we dive into the gameplay features, just a quick shout out to Robert Matz for the amazing music that we heard throughout the showcase. It's been very promising so far. The game has come a long way from its early days, with its visuals matching its growing ambition. Let's take a look at how the graphical changes have come to life. Upon initial observation, it appears that the characters are no longer utilizing placeholder models, and the user interface has seen some noticeable polish. The game now includes a fully functional inventory, skill tree, stat screen, and character sheet, all with a more refined look and feel. Visually, the game has enhanced its graphical fidelity, likely as a result of post-processing techniques, improved lighting, and upgraded water effects, which give it a sharper and more immersive aesthetic. And honestly, I do agree with Phil's earlier sentiment. This is no longer just a prototype, it looks and feels like a real game now. Drawing inspiration from beloved games like Minecraft and Terraria, MVP's upcoming game unveils a breathtaking world that is fully procedurally generated, includes deformable terrain, and has a day and night cycle. More to come on that later. Now, you might be wondering, how is this different from Diablo 2's procedural generation? Let's take a look at the summoner with examples that Shadow pulled together. In Diablo 2, the summoner's spawn location in the Arcane Sanctuary has 4 possible variations, but based on your game seed, the system selects one of the 4 ending paths to place the summoner. In this game, however, MVP aims to implement procedural generation at the voxel level, similar to Minecraft. Think of it as building the world block by block, leading to vastly more diverse and unique landscapes. This approach means dungeon locations aren't confined to present paths, but can actually appear in numerous possible locations within the dynamically generated world.
If you think about a game like Minecraft or Terraria, the world is made out of voxels, but we put this really beautiful skin on it. So that's not the first thing that you see when you jump in. It's not like, oh, it's a block world.
But the innovation doesn't stop there. The game weaves in sophisticated physical simulations, adding layers of complexity that could redefine how you strategize and engage in combat. This isn't just a sandbox, it's a dynamic and ever-changing battlefield waiting to be mastered.
It's worth reiterating, the world is persistent, right? You come back to the world, if someone blew chunks in the world, those chunks are going to be there. If you dig a hole and the water flows somewhere, it's all physically simulated. That exists sort of permanent effect in the world, and the world can change dynamically on its own. It can evolve, be filled in with vegetation over time. Or when you get set on fire, you can go jump in the water and it'll put out the fire.
Now let's kick things off with one of the core features and mechanics, dashing. Popularized in Diablo 4, the dash adds a layer of mobility, letting players evade incoming attacks or quickly close the gap between them and their enemies. It's a small addition, but it makes combat feel more dynamic and responsive right from the start. The game also introduces jumping, a novel feature particularly useful in a 3D voxel world. Then there's also swimming, which is surprisingly innovative for the aRPG genre and has been well received by early fans. And if you'd rather stay dry, certain item modifiers even let you walk on water. The classic weapon swap system also returns, allowing players to toggle between different skill or weapon loadouts on the fly. Then there's the item auto sort, which led to a bit of a debate between Peter and Erich. Both had their own ideas in mind, but in the end they agreed that Peter's implementation was superior. They also added a smooth animation to the items rearranging, which looks pretty nice. And finally, perhaps the most debated feature so far, the game includes a rotatable 3D camera, giving players full control over their view of the world. Some love the freedom, while others prefer the fixed perspectives of traditional aRPGs. Personally, Shadow and I believe that the rotating camera isn't just a nice touch, it's actually a necessity. In a 3D voxel world, verticality matters. Being able to adjust your perspective is crucial. Imagine that you're digging into the terrain and a deep hole is going down, and the ability for that camera to move overhead so you can actually see your character in view is vital. Now back to familiar aRPG territory. In the showcase, we were introduced to the first class, the Witch, which was played by Erich Schaefer, and the character demonstrated both melee and powerful magic abilities. Now, as you would expect with this type of character, they created distance by lunging powerful missiles, but they were able to get close in the kill box by lunging with powerful strikes thanks to her signature glyph magic.
We're going to be showing you our first character class today. This is the Witch. She's a hybrid class. She's got a little bit of magic user, a little bit of fighter, fierce knife and staff fighter.
Yeah. All right, I got that second glyph. This is the Witch's main one of their main magic lines is this glyph magic. Once they build up 3 glyphs like this, release them, a nice little combo. Combo usually kills a bunch of monsters. Depending on which glyphs I generate, which are random, I can do different effects for that glyph combo. So the Witch is all about building glyphs and releasing the combos. At least the Witch build I'm playing now.
These glyph combinations remind me of the Assassin's martial arts tree from Diablo 2, where you build up charges and then release them to have some type of area of effect or spell. Featured glyphs such as Blood, Bone, and Shadow offer unique effects to your melee attacks, allowing your combinations to cause bleed, stun, and grant mana regeneration, respectively. When it comes to skills, Erich showcased a powerful ability named Spinebreaker, which deals strata damage, a term linked to its ability to deform terrain. Now, players might be able to use this to trap enemies or, in a PvP situation, alter the battlefield to your advantage. Now, beyond combat, Spinebreaker seems like it may serve as a utility skill which provides the ability to alter the environment by digging for hidden treasures or secrets.
The Spinebreaker skill. Spinebreaker is a missile weapon. It does good strata damage, what we call. Like, boom, it opened up a little hidden warren of bogeys.
Next, we have Lunge, a default Witch skill. This ability lets your character dash forward and strike monsters within its range. The skill is simultaneously the Witch's regular attack in close quarters. As Erich pointed out, both Lunge and Spinebreaker can trigger combos that activate the glyph effects. The introduction of options adds a compelling layer to the skill system, somewhat reminiscent of how skills work in Last Epoch. In Last Epoch, gaining a base skill unlocks a web of upgrades, letting players tweak everything from elemental types to projectile count, size, and damage bonuses. It seems Moonbeast is exploring similar territory, giving players deeper ways to customize how their abilities function. As for attributes, MVP appears to be staying true to classic Diablo roots. In the showcase, each point invested in Vitality adds +2 to base life. Erich even calls this a deliberate nod to the old school formula, saying that they shouldn't fix what isn't broken, and as longtime Diablo fans, it's hard to disagree. Let's now dive into the elemental system in the game. So far in the preview, we've seen 6 specifically: Blunt, Slashing, Fire, Cold, Lightning, and Shadow, each of which having both major and minor effects. For example, Cold slows enemies with a chilling minor debuff and locks them in place with a major freeze. Shadow brings a sinister, curse-like affliction, while Fire sets foes ablaze with Ignite. Then you have Slashing, which can leave enemies bleeding out over time. If you played other action RPGs, these will feel familiar. They're essentially this game's version of ailments.
One thing to point out is that all of our different elements in the game, and currently there's 6. There's Blunt, Slashing, Fire, Cold, and Light. They all have different critical effects. They actually have different minor and major criticals. So like the Cold weapon will do a chill and freeze if you stack up enough chills, and sometimes they'll do it randomly. They'll do something like ignite people and they'll run around like crazy. Shadow does a curse effect. Slashing weapons can do a bleeding effect, things like that.
One of the features I'm most excited about is the dynamic world events. Phil teased that as night falls, scary things happen. The music shifts, the atmosphere darkens, and suddenly new monsters emerge, more powerful and more resilient than what you fought during the daytime. Now, these nighttime monsters could cause unprepared players to have to retreat, regroup, or die trying. For instance, take the undead creatures that claw their way out of the earth after dark. This highlights how the game keeps players on edge with unpredictable enemy spawns during exploration. Here, bogey pharaohs launch to a relentless charge, and as Erich points out, these nocturnal variants are intentionally designed to be far more challenging and aggressive than the standard bogeys encountered in daylight. Now it's time to talk about the Gloom, an eerie purple mist that pervades the world. Much like the Shadow, the Gloom is a physically simulated purple mist that spreads across the world if left unchecked. Walls and obstacles may slow its advance, but they can't stop it. And like the Shadow, it interacts dynamically with the environment and other elements. To drive back the Gloom, you need to hunt down Gloom parasites, likely boss-level enemies anchoring the mist of the world. But be warned, certain monsters can pull the Gloom with them as they approach, forcing you into tough terrain or fights you're not ready for. Mechanically, it echoes the darkness from Path of Exile's Delve. Stand still too long and a ring of mist tightens around you, dealing damage over time once it closes in. Staying mobile isn't just tactical, it's survival. Next up, the Curse of the Night Shadow, or simply, the Shadow. This dark force is unleashed when a player interacts with one of the mysterious purple pillars scattered throughout the world. Once released, the shadow spreads like a plague, enveloping regions in an endless night. And in this game, night isn't just a time for rest, it's when the monsters become fiercer, more aggressive, and deadlier. Players who venture into the Shadow's grip may stumble upon the Necropolis, a buried city of the dead. It rises from the depths, swarming with powerful undead and potentially setting the stage for a mighty world boss encounter. Defeating this boss pushes the Shadow back and restores the light, but there's another path. If your character leans towards the necrotic arts like a necromancer, you can choose to embrace the Shadow, aligning with the Necropolis to fuel their own power, amplifying their abilities by feeding the curse. Visually, the Shadow manifests as a thick, creeping fog, a living curse. Like the gloom, it's physically simulated, its spread and interactions are dynamically rendered, adding tension and immersion to every encounter. Finally, at the heart of your base lies the Arkstone, a green crystal pulsing with radiant energy. Its singular purpose? To protect your home from the encroaching forces of the shadow and the gloom. It emits a unique counter-energy simply known as green, a light that repels the darkness. But even the Arkstone has limits. If the shadow and the gloom grow too strong, they can breach its defenses. That's where you come in. By defeating enemies and pushing back the darkness, you feed power into the Arkstone, strengthening its green light and expanding its protective reach. The more you fight, the safer your sanctuary becomes. In this game, monsters offer dynamic challenges through intuitive elemental strengths, environmental interactions, and unpredictable abilities. Staying sharp is essential. One careless move and the fight can turn against you fast. For example, bramble husks resist cold but are vulnerable to fire. Ember ghouls in the lava tunnels burn perpetually, igniting careless players who get too close. Meanwhile, bogey tyrants pose a serious threat if allowed to charge their fiery meteor spell, a move that repeatedly wiped out Erich's Witch during the pre-alpha showcase. Then there's the Curse of the Night Shadow, which triggers a state of perpetual night, spawning higher level, more aggressive monsters. And it gets worse. Terrain destruction adds another layer of danger. Spells that deal strata damage can fracture the environment, sometimes unleashing hordes of doomed soldier skeletons from buried graveyards. Elite monsters, similar to champions and uniques from Diablo 2, crank up the difficulty even further. One named monster, the Riverfang, showcased brutal abilities, chilling Erich's Witch to slow her escape before closing in for the kill. In this world, loot isn't just rewarding, it's deep, layered, and rich with lore. Let's break down the game's fresh and compelling item system. This game will come with items in 6 tiers. At the bottom, we start with inferior items, which are meant for early game progression and then will be quickly phased out. Then we have common, magic, rare, and legendary, followed by cursed items, which are probably region-specific related to the Necropolis. Common items will feature the most sockets overall. Socket quality also scales by tier, with a unique socket being able to slot a rare item like Monster Hearts. Magic items will roll with 2 affixes and retain a solid number of sockets, though fewer than commons. At higher levels, top tier affixes will be able to outperform rares. Rare items come with 3 or more random affixes, but fewer sockets. Some affixes can grant unique sockets. Rares may belong to randomized sets reminiscent of Torchlight 2. Peter Hugh mentioned affix affinities designed to make rares feel more curated and less RNG heavy. Legendary items will have fixed stats, steeped in lore and themed around ancient heroes. According to Peter, they won't always be best in slot, encouraging variety and experimentation. Many legendaries will also exist as parts of theme sets. Gems imbue gear with elemental power. Known types so far include Opal for slashing, Jade for cold, Lapis for lightning, and Onyx for shadow. Amber was also shown, though it's unclear if it aligns with fire or blunt. With 6 known elements and 5 confirmed gems, it seems likely that there's still 1 gem left to be revealed. As far as rune words, Peter Hugh wasn't satisfied with how they were implemented in Diablo 2, but he's committed to improving them this time. Runes are also making a return. This could elevate their value not just for crafting rune words or their rarity, but just because class-specific modifiers make them more useful. As noted earlier, gold tier unique sockets can be filled with Monster Hearts, which is a rare drop from an enemy. Even standard loot ties into monster identity. For example, a bramble husk might drop a bramble staff because it mimics its entangling effect. Later in the showcase, we see Eric loot Murakami's puzzle box from a mysterious purple pillar in the Vale of the Old Ones. When he opens it, his character's cube, simply called the box, activates, revealing a Tome of the Novice. According to Peter Hugh, this tome permanently grants an option point very similar to skill books in Diablo 2. He also confirms that the box will serve as this game's version of the HORDE cube, but with one key upgrade: it no longer takes up inventory space. Multiplayer is a cornerstone of the aRPG experience, and Moonbeast Productions is embracing that fully. Players won't need third-party hosting. Moonbeast will run the servers directly, ensuring stability and control. Mods can be uploaded and run on these servers, with each world essentially functioning as its own joinable server. PvP is confirmed, and server creators will have full authority over world settings. That includes everything from difficulty and PvP rules to terrain, destructibility, and how global systems like the Shadow and Gloom behave. This now brings us to modding, one of the core tenets of this new game. Back at ExileCon 2023 during a panel, it was stated that this game was being built to be, theoretically, super moddable.
Retired for a little bit, but then I'm dragged back in. I've got a new indie studio called Moonbeast. You guys could look it up, moonbeast.com. So I like mods, and the current game I'm making is very moddable, but that's kind of almost experimentally super moddable.
One of the standout features is a full in-game world editor, giving creators tools right inside the game. Even more exciting is the support for live modding collaboration, similar to how teams use Google Docs. Multiple modders can work on the same project at once in real time. Now, while some of you may not know them, we need to give a big shout out to Frozen Keep. Back in the early 2000s, Peter Hugh, the sole developer on patch 1.10 in Diablo 2, worked and collaborated closely with Frozen Keep to bring that legendary update to life. That partnership helped lay the groundwork for Diablo 2's data-driven modding system built on simple tab text files. Now they're back. Frozen Keep is once again teaming up with Moonbeast Productions, and this time modding isn't just fully supported, it's central to the game's design. When it comes to monetization, Moonbeast Production is exploring ways to support the modding community, most notably allowing modders to monetize their creations. This approach could foster a more rewarding ecosystem where modders share in the success of the content that they help bring to life. Meanwhile, the game itself will launch at a standard box price, offering a familiar and accessible entry point for most players. Paid expansions may follow, deepening the experience over time. Moonbeast let us know that they're looking for early feedback on their game, so let's start with inventory management and hear from my partner Shadow.
First up, autosort. It would be great if the autosort feature came with a toggle option. Now, some players prefer manually organizing their inventory, so having the flexibility to autosort with a button press or opt out entirely would go a long way in accommodating different playstyles. Next, the box. Adding an in-game codex or recipe menu for the box would be a major quality of life. Whether it's a complete list or a progressive system that fills in as you discover recipes, having this info in-game would reduce the need to externally look things up.
And finally, loadouts. Imagine having 2 or 3 unique slots where you could save full gear sets with minor tweaks to different frameworks. This would be a huge quality of life feature for the PvP community and also prepping for world boss events. Switching between them at the menu level versus a hotkey would avoid balancing issues and provide enough flexibility. Before we wrap, we want to give a quick shout out to some of the legendary ex-developers from Blizzard North: Brian Fitzgerald, Anthony Rivero, Erich Schaefer, Phil Shenk, and Peter Hugh. And of course, shout out to the rest of the known team working on this project: Aaron McNine, Brian Bassick, and Colin Day. From everything we've seen so far, the game is incredibly ambitious, but also generally promising thanks to this talented team behind it. We're excited to see how all the pieces continue coming together, and hopefully we'll know the official name of the game soon.